What'd you say? Yes. What's he got?
He brought an agricultural animal.
He brought a cow.
Take your pet to work day.
First guess.
Oh, take your
Yeah.
dog to work day. Sorry.
You ready? Roll call, young lady?
Oh, yeah, Alan, Juby,
Over here.
Leonard online, Sanchez, Williams.
Here.
Roth.
We're out here.
Here. Do we have any requests for remote attendance? Let's say that Debbie Allen wanted to remote attendance, and I know Leonard is out of town. And Sanchez is probably just having a good time up north. Does anybody object to them listening in? No, seeing none?
Object to them listening in.
Okay. Is it public comment? Well, nobody signed up, so we have none. Steve, what?
Minutes.
Minutes. You want a motion to
I will make a motion for unanimous approval of the minutes. Requested.
seeing no objections, they are approved. I see nobody signed up for public comment. We'll hear from Steve Arnold, who probably missed today because we changed the day. But then let's go the Cane DuPage Soil and Water Conservation. Patrick McPartland, is that you? No, I didn't think so. I thought he was a younger man. Okay, so we don't have the soil and water guy here. Mark? Is that your job?
To make sure he's here?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have failed.
Okay,
I would suggest that we're expecting him. So
we'll go.
we move on to the next item
Come
and
back.
come back.
Now, do you want to go to presentation, urban agricultural innovation production programs? Matt?
Yes, we can do that. Good morning. Today I wanted to give an update on the Urban Agriculture Innovative Production Program. This is the USDA funded grant program that is currently underway. So we have a couple of points of progress that I would like to share. So to recap, there are really two main elements to this program. The first is a business training program for farmers, and we're working with U of I Extension to deliver that training. So I'm happy to report that they have recently hired a local food and small farms extension educator. This is going to be the person who's going to be coordinating the training program, delivering training lessons, as well as recruiting experts to give class presentations to the participants in this program. And also I wanted to give some updates on the second point of this program, which is to provide program benefits for the low income, low access areas of Kane County. Those are a few select tracts in Elgin, Aurora, and Carpentersville. And I'm happy to say that we have received a projects proposal from Extension to provide some local food projects that are intended to benefit communities that have limited access to produce. So I'm going to summarize those programs in a bit. And so just to recap a little bit, so the U of I Extension, so we do have a contract with U of I Extension, and we did again just recruit that Extension small farms coordinator, and I do have a meeting with this coordinator next week. So we're going to begin to talk about some of the potential curriculum elements and begin to kind of work through some of the questions that she has in developing and designing this curriculum program. I did have a brief opportunity to meet with her at an Illinois Stewardship Alliance event this past Tuesday, and I'm very encouraged by her enthusiasm and her background and willingness to take on this program. And again, just to summarize the low income, low access projects, we're also referring to that as the equitable local food access projects. So we do have 7 specific projects that kind of cover different areas of the Fox River corridor. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through those to give you a sense of what those projects consist of. So 2 of the projects will be new garden programs. So these are programs where we didn't have an existing garden program, and this is going to be developed from the ground up. And then we have 4 additional projects that are going to be upgrades for existing garden and food programs in the areas listed here. And then the last one is a project supporting the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry to help them develop their food storage infrastructure.
Can I ask a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm curious on the food pantry, what's that going to entail? How's that going to work?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through them a bit more
Okay,
in
we're gonna get-
detail. So that was just kind of a setup, and then I'm gonna walk through them each. So, yep. So the first 2, these are the 2 new garden programs. The first is for the Act Like Men Sobriety House. This is a transitional housing program for incarcerated men. And so this is a program that will be developed with the support of the participants, the clients of this program, and they're gonna manage the garden after it's constructed, and they will be the beneficiaries of the produce that's grown at the garden site. And then the second is a garden that will be developed for the District 300 Middle School, also supported by the DeLacy Learning Center, which provides support to the school. And the harvested produce will be supplied to the District 300 Food Pantry, which I believe is used by the families and students of that. And so I believe there is a storage shed as part of their proposal, which does account for the cost being a little bit higher there. And then next, we're moving into the new garden programs, or I'm sorry, these are the upgraded garden programs. So these are existing gardens that are going to be enhanced with this program funding. So the first is McCleary Elementary School in Aurora. The produce grown through this enhanced garden will benefit the students and the Aurora families. And it's also going to be maintained by the garden club of the school. And then Mercy Housing in Batavia is going to enhance their garden that's going to supply the Mercy Housing Food Pantry. And that's located at the site where the garden is going to be expanded. And it's also going to include some 4-H youth and Eagle Scouts are also going to be participating in expanding and supporting that garden.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Roth here. I'm for the proposal, but I'm just curious, I guess for my edification, the cost for 10,000, what are we putting in water or, I mean, that seems like a lot. I mean, if it's 10 acres, maybe okay, but and I'm not opposed to it, but I just would like to know in case I'm ever asked.
Making
So-
trouble again?
That's my job.
Right. And we're working through the details, but just in terms of some of the expense items that were provided, this would include materials for the garden beds, mulch, soil, plant materials, garden tools, and they also did include a storage shed, which I assume would account for a significant part of that cost, and also the delivery fees for that. So that's what Extension has
Okay,
provided.
and that's fine. Is there water at these sites?
I don't know that specifically.
Okay. Especially like this week, that's probably kind of critical.
Right, yeah, I think that's,
Thank you,
Yeah.
Matt.
sure.
Mr. Chair, are we funding the 1,500 and the 10,000 here? Is that from our budget?
This is all through the USDA Urban Agriculture Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this was part of the approved a larger contract proposal that was for U of I Extension. So this is going to be managed by Extension and then subcontracted for these other partners.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then the next two garden enhancement programs. The first is improvements for the Idea Garden. This is at the St. Charles Horticulture Center site. This will support food for the Well Child Center Food Pantry and the Centro Información Food Pantry in Elgin. And some of the investments would include a new hoop house, a storage shed on site, as well as some additional upgrades. And then the One Hope United project. This is another enhancement for a garden program in Aurora. And this will be led by the One Hope United program. And it's going to be for the staff, managed by the staff and students.
Matt,
Yes.
is the Idea Garden, is that down here on 38? Is that the facility they're gonna use?
Yes, that's the Peck Road and 38 Center. So that's going to expand that. So more of that product can be supplied for the food pantries that are mentioned. Okay, and then the last one, this is the infrastructure project for the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry. So they are proposing to expand their storage capability, and this would pay for a cold storage unit. And that's really the focus of their proposal. It's just they described it as a custom walk-in refrigerator, about 16 feet long by 11 feet wide, 8 feet tall. And it's it's a custom designed walk-in cooler essentially for their harvested produce.
So this, they're gonna buy this from, they don't have it yet.
Correct.
How many people do they service out of Marie Wilkinson? Do you know?
I don't have an exact number
lot.
on that for you, but
What's Aurora? We could
Okay.
find out. We can find out, can't we, Matt?
we can definitely do our homework. Yes.
You don't need
The
to,
Homework
I
assignment.
can find out too, so. I was just curious,
He gets paid to do this.
things to do other than satisfy my stupid questions.
Okay. Oh, Leslie just found that it's over 12,000, is that per year? Okay.
Thank you, Leslie.
And this is just so this is a summary to kind of encapsulate the two programs so far. So the Master Urban Farmer Training Program, that's currently underway. So we have about 219,000 set aside for that. And then the remaining balance of the USDA Urban Ag Grant would cover these expanded and new garden and food infrastructure projects. So that's around $80,000 to cover those 7 proposed projects. So I will, oh, go ahead. Yes.
Question. On this urban thing with master farmers, are we taking care of the tuition that they have to pay?
Correct. Yeah. So the cost of the curriculum for the farmer participants is included in this program.
Do we go back to people that did it just recently?
Well, this program has only been implemented in Cook County so far. So a version of it was originally developed for
We don't
Cook
get any
County. I'm sorry?
Looking for money from when you took the class in 1960?
No,
Oh.
Cheryl Stratman is the master gardener. And then I know another lady that took it. She is doing a program up at Sherman Hospital, talking to them.
Okay, okay. That might be a different program. I know Extension has done a mix of, a mix of training programs so far.
I think the Master Garden is a completely separate because they're mostly
I know they have to-
non-food
They have to pay to do it, to go to school.
and a lot of volunteer hours.
Right. Yeah, but it is different. It is a different program from the Master Gardener program, and it is similar in name, but this is geared toward food producing farm operations and urban farm operations. So I did want to share this proposal with you today, but we are still going to have to submit a revised proposal and budget to USDA because this does differ a little bit from the original grant program or grant proposal that we submitted for this. But it is very much in line with the intent of the Urban Ag Innovative Production Grant Program. So I have little reason to believe that they wouldn't approve this. And then next we'll just, we'll polish up the scope of service with U of I Extension just to make sure that everything is clearly accounted for in a revised agreement. But we've already received the spending authority from the county board because that did cover the entire grant amount and project related expenses that we would be working on with U of I Extension for this program.
Are there monies available still for like other food pantries, or is it closed? Is the program closed now under that grant?
Well, if we accepted all of these projects as they're proposed and at cost, then we would be using all of the available funding through this grant program.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Anybody online? Seeing none? You done or you got more to add, sir?
That's all I have.
That's it?
That's it.
God. Mr. Arnold, we'll come back to you. You weren't here when we started. So we'll give you the floor.
Oh, now,
You're Mr. Arnold. You're the only Arnold here.
I am, I misunderstood you, my apologies. For being late, very briefly this morning, first of all, last week, we had our 111th annual meeting and reorganized the board of directors, had new officer elections. We had one change in officers, a change in the vice president of the board is now Beth Gerke from Elgin. In terms of upcoming events, on July 12th, we'll do a scholarship recognition for 24 King County Farm Bureau Foundation scholars for the 24-25 school year. We will do that at the King County Cougars and invite in the scholars and their parents and many of our donors in order to recognize those scholars. In last month's publication, our King County Farmer publication, I believe that we put biographies of 11 of those 24 scholarship recipients in, and the remaining 13 will be in the July publication. In July, also, the King County Fair is scheduled for July 17th to the 21st. all of you that received the Kane County Farmer, there will be a coupon in the Kane County Farmer for free family ice cream at the county fair if you stop by and visit the Kane County Farm Bureau. And when you're there visiting the Kane County Farm Bureau, you can look across the avenue to the sale ring where the blue ribbon sale will be held at 1 p.m. on Sunday. So if any of you need to stock your freezer, the blue ribbon sale is a great place to buy livestock, and they will arrange to have it processed. Or you can donate your purchase back to the 4-H'er or to the 4-H Foundation. On July 25th, the Farm Bureau is doing a Prairie Strips Field Day in cooperation with the Kane DuPage Soil and Water Conservation District and Iowa State University. And I apologize, I believe that starts at 8 a.m. It does start at our office on Randall Road in St. Charles, and there will be information on that field day and how to register in our July Kane County Farmer. And then the last thing I have is to remind you all that we are doing drive-through barbecue fundraisers every Thursday for the remainder of the summer. And I think we did our 5th last night. We're averaging about 500 meals per barbecue. So the attendance has been very well. And I believe this is our 3rd year for the barbecues, and we actually outsource them, but still get contributions back to our foundation. And I believe most of the kinks have been worked out. So if any of you have been there in the past and waited a little too long for your barbecue, hopefully that will not happen again. And we appreciate all the support.
Isn't it true that they enlarged their menu?
Actually, we told them to restrict their menu for these drive-throughs because that was part of the problem. So
Okay.
we have limited it to 4 entrees as opposed to 7 or 8 entrees in order to keep the lines moving.
Are you going to have animals in your tent?
Not likely.
Do you want any?
Sure.
I have 2 goats.
You volunteering?
Goats. Well, I have an employee with 2 goats.
We would be happy to have goats.
If you
there.
want them, I'll try to get them there. Any other questions? You know, it's just terrible hot out there, but the goats are going to be hot anyway. It'll be in the shade and they'll have each other to talk to.
You won't have to cut the grass.
They're on a yearly salary, so they don't get any extra money.
And they won't have to cut the grass.
Right. Anyway, do we have somebody else that we step by? The young man, there you are, young man.
Well, I have a presentation prepared.
And again, maybe not.
Tucked away back in there. It's in a folder called Kane County Ag Committee.
Can you use the microphone?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you have to be close to it because
Sure.
that's the sound system.
Yeah, so if you go onto that flash drive and then there should be a Kane County Ag folder. And then there'll be 2 versions of the PowerPoint, and then just do the latest modified version or underscore version number 2. Okay, so my name is Patrick McPartland.
I'm Isabella Borzica.
We're with the Kane DuPage Soil Water Conservation District. We were asked by Matthew to come and talk about the land evaluation and site assessment scoring framework and how we're using it in the county. And yeah, so you'll see the presentation on the slide there and on the screen there. That doesn't seem to be Okay, excellent. So a little bit of background about the land evaluation and site assessment scoring. So it's a tool to help state and local officials make decisions about land use. So essentially, it's a way to put a score on a farm based off a technical framework that's going to talk about its local resource value and different site characteristics. So within those site characteristics, what's the suitability of the soil for supporting agriculture practices? And that will fall under the land evaluation portion. And then under the site assessment portion, it's those non-soil factors that are going to talk about what is it related to development pressure? What's the value of the surrounding 1.5 miles of land use when it relates to Kane County's goals, farmland preservation, but this is LISA in general. So each state, or a lot of the states, have developed their own LISA scoring framework, including Illinois. Between the years of 1984 and 1999, various different LISA scoring frameworks were developed throughout the state. And currently there are 34 counties, including Kane County, that have their own individual scoring framework, essentially based off of the unique characteristics of Kane County and what data we have at our disposal. So the state scoring, which we use for any of the ag fields that's going out of agriculture in DuPage County, we use the state framework, but for Kane County, we have our own. But some factors that influence the scoring for LISA for the state of Illinois would be what's the land use of the site, what's the land use of the sites directly surrounding it or adjacent to the site, how about the distance to any city, or what is the 1.5 miles surrounding the site, what is that comprised of, and different land use types, availability to sewer, to stormwater, to different aspects like that. That will essentially tell you what is its preservation value in terms, what's its rural score and preservation value at the same time. So that map shows the different counties that have developed their own individual LISA scoring framework, including Kane County. So each of these, again, will have unique characteristics based off of what data that county might have at its disposal and what they seem to find as a priority for their county. Now, when it comes to Kane County land use, I have two maps right there, just what the land use land cover map was in the year 2000 compared to 2023. So that gray cover would indicate the urban cover. And we've seen a drastic change in the land cover in the county over these past 20 years. So the point of this LISA scoring framework is to give those farms its proper credit in its terms of sustainable value, and to incorporate that into our natural resource inventory reports, so that maybe we've learned some mistakes during the development over the past 20 years. Can we learn from those mistakes and make sure that we preserve those valuable pieces of farmland as we continue to develop further out west? So the Kane County LISA scoring framework was adopted in 2004. You can find this information online. If you would like a copy of the full LISA scoring framework, feel free to reach out to our office. I'd be willing to provide you any information that I present in this presentation, or go into further detail as needed. I wanted to bring this to your attention. These are the people that were involved in the LISA review committee and also the technical staff. Two of those people are in this room right now. And I think it's really valuable for the county to assemble these important people in the same room to talk about different changes that have taken place in the county, what our new priorities are since its original publication, and make sure that all the different entities and stakeholders in the county are able to contribute towards those conversations if we were to go about revising the LISA scoring, or how we end up using it in the county. So I'm going to turn it to Isabella to talk about the Kane County specific scoring framework.
So the first half of the LISA score encompasses the land evaluation or LE score, and this is a specific grading system for the soils that encompass a particular site and to determine their suitability for agricultural use. Now, this LE score only accounts for 1/3 of the total LISA score, which means that the score can be up to 33 points. Now, to get this LE score, you multiply the acreage of each soil type within the site boundaries by each soil type's relative value, and then you divide this total by the value, the total acreage of the property. And then the LE score is rounded up or down to get a whole number. And if you look on the right-hand side of the screen of the image with the various numbers, the highlighted RV_MU shows the relative values that we use in our calculation.
And then I generated this map to show, based off of the land evaluation criteria, what soils in the county would warrant a high classification. So the more green you are, the higher value you get. And then everything under a value of a 22 would be labeled as red in that. So you can see the different spread of productive soils in the county, a lot more towards the west and central portion of Kane County.
Now, the second half of the LISA score encompasses the site assessment or SA score, which is used for non-soil factors that are in the site or within 1.5 miles of the site. And this total score is influenced by the quality, suitability, and the economic viability of a site for agricultural productivity. In terms of scoring when the site is located near a county boundary, the radius is restricted to the boundaries for that respective county, which means that whether the 1.5 is less to the county boundary, then the radius is simply truncated and calculated based off of that. Now, we use various Kane County resources to calculate the site assessment score, including Kane County GIS and Kane County protected farmlands. This SA score encompasses a larger percentage of the score, 2/3 of this total LISA score, which means that this value can be up to 66 points. Now, there are a total of 9 values that encompass the total site assessment score. The first one is the size of the site, which is simply the total size of the entire site that rounded down to the nearest 10th. An example that is highlighted in the image below shows that a site, as an example, 76 acres would have a factor score of 70. Next one is the percentage of the site that is in agricultural use, and the factor score for that is simply the percentage of the whole site in agricultural use rounded to the nearest 10th. Next is ratio of perimeter compatibility. The factor score for this is determined by the ratio between the incompatible and compatible zoning designations. As you can see in the image below that, there are several compatible uses, and the incompatible uses with the existing residential parcels that are either 4 acres or less, or business districts, which is any zoning classification that would have a B in it. Next is the compatibility of land uses within 1.5 miles of the site. And this is simply the percentage of the compatible use that is rounded to the nearest 10th. So very similar to the value I discussed previously. However, this is within 1.5 mile radius instead of adjacent to the site. Next one is proximity to local protected farmland, and we determine this by determining the total acreage of protected farmland that exists within the 1.5 mile radius, and we have a special GIS shape file that helps us to determine this acreage. Next is the percentage of the area in agricultural use within 1.5 miles, and this is, as you can see in the map below, the pink is very faint. There is more on there than is currently shown, but the factor score is simply the percentage of the agricultural use, which is shown in pink, rounded to the nearest tenth. Next is the percentage of land zoned to agriculture within a mile and a half. And as self-explanatory, this is the percentage of the agricultural zoning rounded to the nearest tenth. And this is more likely to be found within central and western King County. Next is percent of site that's consistent with the King County agricultural goals. And this factor score is the percentage of the site that's consistent with the county plan for 2040, rounded to the nearest tenth. And then the last one is the impact on the unique historic landmarks within a mile and a half of the site, as identified by the King County Register of Historic Places. Now, as shown in the graph below, the closer the landmark is to the site, the higher the factor score is going to be. Now, to get a total site assessment score, all of the SA values that are determined have a designated factor weight that is between 0.018 and 0.103. And each of these values are multiplied by its respective factor weights. And then all of the multiplied values are added up to get the total SA score. Now, we use the LISA calculation for King County in creating our natural resource inventory, or NRI reports. Now, these NRI reports evaluate the soil and water resources that are in and around a site that is proposed for development. So developers will be able to make an informed decision as to how to proceed with development with respect to those soil and water resources. Now, we complete a report for any site that has more than 1/4 of an acre of ground disturbance. And for the LISA calculation for King County, we use this for any portion of the land that is currently in agricultural use. That qualifies for a full NRI report once we receive and process the application. The example I have on the right is the Excel sheet we use to determine the total LISA score, and I broke it down over here for a 42.6 acre site on Lorraine Road in unincorporated King County.
I'm circling back on the note I mentioned earlier that I feel it's important to get people that are the different stakeholders that are involved and that were initially involved, find people that fill those roles today and gather them in the same room and maybe discuss the LISA and how we can use it forward. And we're hopefully putting on a workshop in our office on July 12th. People are interested in attending. We're looking for technical people and decision makers to come and just provide any suggestions or guidance to the Cane Page SWCD, how we could use this, how we can make the LISA score better, and how we can really rely on it to fall in line with the goals of Kane County. And just a couple general Cane Page announcements.
Okay, the first is regarding our Partners for Conservation, or PFC program. This is a cost share funding program that is open to any landowner in King County who wants to install a conservation practice on their property. Now, we have several practices that are eligible for such funding and more being added each fiscal year. Some of the ones that I want to mention include cover crops, grassed waterways, conservation cover, pasture and hayland plantings, etc. Now, each landowner who is eligible may receive up to 75% cost share based on the cost of an established state scenario. Now, what this means is that any project with a total cost that exceeds the state scenario cost will receive a lower cost share percentage, whereas any projects with a lower total cost than the established state scenario is not to exceed 75% of that total cost. Although the application period is closed for the 2024 fiscal year, we are continuing to accept inquiries for projects ahead of the fiscal year 25 application period. Anyone who is interested may reach out to our office by phone or email. Now, the next program we offer is our streaming stabilization and restoration program, which the application period is currently open for. Any eligible project may receive up to $15,000. And the application period for our office closes on Friday, July 5th. So we can process them and send them to the IDOA by Thursday, August 1st. Now, it's important to note that this funding is only available for hard armoring of stream banks. Vegetative cover around the stream bank is not an eligible practice. Now, an important note, a few weeks ago, the Illinois state budget for the 2025 fiscal year was passed by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And it's important to note that the AISWCD, or Association of Illinois Soil and Water Conservation Districts Executive Director, Dr. Michael Woods, stated that SWCD operational funding has been cut by 48%, which is pre-2000 funding levels. And it's important to bring awareness to this because of the necessary role that SWCDs play in each county to supporting urban and agricultural conservation.
And that's it. I think I'm really happy we were able to speak today. And I think it's really important that we focus on this LISA scoring and that we have this unbiased tool to promote these Kane County agriculture preservation goals. So with that, if you have any questions, we'd be more than willing to take that. Again, apologies for coming a little late today, but.
Mr. Chair.
What's your question? Mr. Shepro has a question.
I was just curious, you said that there are 33 counties that have their own. Each of them has their own unique scoring system.
Oh yeah, they're each completely different compared to each other. For the most part, I think
This is what some of the major differences is between what, say, neighboring county does. And what
well,
Microphones, please. Microphone.
it's just I was just curious as to what the major differences are in the scoring systems that other counties have compared to what Kane has.
Well, that's a good question. I don't have a certain answer for you for that one. But for example, Kane County would have those unique characteristics like the farms that are under the easements programs that's taken into account, as well as the 2040 goals that are referenced within the plan. So other counties will just have different components based off of what they prioritize and what they have available. If you'd like, I could forward you some examples from surrounding counties like Grundy and Will, and that will give you an idea of what those different aspects.
Want to send it to Mark Van Kerkhoff's office.
I know that many board members, new board members have expressed unfamiliarity with that process, and I think the more information that they have about it, the more they'll understand what
Or more confused.
I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
They're very informative. I taken a lot of notes here trying to understand this. So what I learned here today is I don't think that the LISA score directly correlates to the quality of the soil. Because if I understand it correctly, the LE, the land evaluation, is 1/3 of the scoring. That's the actual soil quality.
Yeah, that would be the land evaluation.
The essay doesn't, the site assessment doesn't take into effect the soil quality. It takes into more of zoning.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes.
So you could have a lower LISA score on prime farmland just because of where it's situated. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we as a board have said, okay, let's use this LISA score in evaluating projects. And I don't think what I learned here today is I don't think that's a good way to do it. This particularly came up with these solar fields, and I a couple of them come up and I see a lower LISA score and we feel good about approving the project, but those could be very good soils that were just taking out of productivity just based upon location. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, certainly. And that was what they decided as a committee to how they want to weight their scores. Now, in our natural resource inventory report, we do offer a map that highlights prime farmland areas, soil types. So we have that additional page that can emphasize the importance of those soils on the site, regardless of where it is in the county. But you are correct that it's heavily weighted towards the zoning component.
So who controls the process by which we come up with the formula, if you will? Because I understand now that every county does it differently.
Yes, so it would be a matter of us working internally as Kane County and coming up with a new established framework. And then that would go on up to the Illinois Department of Agriculture as well as the NRCS for approval for making a revised LISA scoring framework.
So is that something that would start in this committee in conjunction with your office?
Yeah, come to the workshop on in July and we could certainly talk about getting that process started. I've been talking about it for a couple of years now, but no one's taken me up on it, but I'm willing to do a lot of the legwork if needed.
But the number of solar farms are probably concerned now.
Yeah,
Well, I think it would behoove a lot of the board members who rely on that LISA score to understand how it actually works. Because until today, I had no idea.
okay, well, I could certainly give a more detailed explanation, a better presentation for if you would be interested in that. And we could talk about next steps too.
I mean, maybe at a committee of the whole, they could come and give a presentation to the 24 board members.
Now, Mark, you could arrange that.
Yes.
There you go.
Are there any records available of that task force that developed these back in 2004?
I think those were all lost in the flood one year. I'm just kidding.
I know.
No, if we had them in our office, we're required to maintain them. So I could send Isabella on that task.
Ms. Juby has a
I
question.
think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
Mr.
but-
Chair. So now that we know that we've all been wrong about the LISA score, is it possible for you to include the prime farmland notice on it so that we don't maybe put so much weight on the LISA score?
Yeah, so as Patrick mentioned, their reports are a wealth of information and maps. So a couple of things we could do other than just looking at the LISA score, we could highlight the two subparts as well as maps, the maps with that. So, there's a number, of examples where maybe we've had development sites or rezonings where it's a lower LISA score based on where it was and what the surrounding land uses were. And the score, I think it usually phrases in terms of how, ranking, how much it warrants protection from development. So.
I think we specifically don't want to put solar projects on prime farmland. So I think that when these projects come forward through development, if we're told this is actually prime farmland just because of the soil, we should be able to consider that regardless of what the LISA score. The LISA score is helpful, but now after what I just learned, I've been using exactly the wrong reasons for approving things. So I would like to see, in addition, however you get it, whether it's from them or something we already have that's not going to require us to go look at a map. If you can present that to us, that would be incredibly helpful.
Sure, we can add when we do our staff presentation, go through the maps, the land use map, and that kind of thing. We can add the soils map from the Kane DuPage report.
Mr. Chair. Mark, couldn't we just do total LISA score 50 and then LE 33, which would be the best, and 12 site assessment? That would give us more of a objective metric, I think, to evaluate it, right? Because I think the metrics are good. I just didn't really understand how they interrelate until this presentation.
Yeah, certainly. I think currently we've been including both parts of the score, the LE and the SA,
Okay,
and the total score. But we can give more information.
I didn't understand how it worked, so
I-
now I do. So
I could also say that we do have our natural resource inventory, which we relay this information that doesn't have to be approved by NRCS or an IDOA. We can make changes to that report tomorrow if you need it. And if you guys are willing to, also in that meeting, we review the natural resource inventory report and you explain what information you'd like relayed on that. We'd be more than willing to accommodate because you guys are the end user of this application along with the applicant. So we can make those revisions so that it's as effective and simplified as possible for you, whether that's reflected in the executive summary or throughout the entire report.
Mr. Roth,
Um,
I wondered where you were. here.
I was being polite and letting Mr. Williams and Ms. Juby ask first. So if we even go off this picture, which is, I think, a picture of Leslie's property, and go to the state map showing all the different counties.
Sure thing.
I think that's the property on Randall Road,
Oh, I thought it was Leslie's.
pollinator property.
Okay. So you said there's 23 or 33?
34.
34, which is about a third of the counties we have in
Yeah,
Illinois, right?
two, yeah.
What would be interesting, what counties, to show are not agriculture? Like, I would guess that Cook County really isn't considered agriculture.
Cook County doesn't have one.
Yeah.
So DuPage County, which we do for our
Yeah.
NRI reports, ever so often, maybe a farm field in Bartlett. will
Right,
get-
right.
So we'll use the state.
Okay. And then I would assume it's an advantage having it. So I guess if some of the, 2/3 of the other counties don't currently do a Lisa score, what's the reasoning behind that if there's an advantage to it?
It's just an additional step that, people have to gather and create that criteria. And they have to feel strongly enough that the state scoring system is not sufficient enough for their county so they can move forward. with
Okay.
making their own.
Okay. And then I know they're all different. Are they close enough that you could do a comparison? Do we have the topsoil in the state or, because I would think that we should eventually try to have that too, because especially when we're looking to, save off certain, development rights on certain farmlands, we would want to concentrate on the prime real estate, right? Farm. Could we, if you can send this presentation to Matt, I'd like to, for us to get a copy of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also the 12th, you were saying, is it a class or is it a seminar or?
It's going to be a general workshop. We're going to invite people in an open invitation, come to our office on Dean Street. And we could talk about how we use it, how you guys use it, and we can make improvements or start that process.
Okay, I'd be interested in attending depending on time.
Great. And if that date doesn't work, and if a lot of people want to attend, we could come up with another date and
Okay.
we could accommodate.
Is it an all-day event? Because that's the day of the Energy Environmental Committee.
Oh, boy, I don't want to conflict with that. It could be, I don't know. It was probably
Well,
going to be.
We can work through, Matt and stuff to try to determine.
Yeah, maybe we could coordinate a date together.
Because I don't know necessarily all 24 board members would be interested, but I think,
We could convince them.
yeah, I know. Well, but at least to get some of us, so then we can
Wouldn't be able.
decisions.
Yeah,
But no, this was, like Rick said, very helpful to understand.
thank you.
And so that's all I have. Thank you.
I think we'll probably want to use that in the county. Actually, what we'd like to have is the state would tell us what we can't do. Instead, we can always blame the state. We can't give you a solar farm because your soil is too good.
And I think we should pre-identify it. Now, I guess one follow-up question. Do all the agricultural properties we have, do we have a Lisa score on all of them or only certain ones?
We make them as we come. I mean, we could just one day just generate a Lisa score for every single property. It's just a matter of computation. If we want to
Okay.
invest into that, I could.
Well, what percent are we at? I don't necessarily want to spend more money, but if it's helpful for us making decisions, I would think we would eventually want to.
What percentage are we at? Probably 10%.
Okay, which is pretty low.
I believe that the development department requires a Lisa, or used to at least, for every zoning request. If
Yeah, so currently in the process, it's linked to if there is a current application for a change in zoning or land use. That's one of the documents that has to be submitted with the zoning petition. So they request and obtain the report. That report is submitted. Based on that, I think it was Mr. Ross requests that we include the Lisa score in the zoning presentation, which we've been doing for a while now, but now I can
Thank you
see
for that.
where
Right.
helping emphasize the two different portions of the score, maybe adding the soils map, prime soils map, to help, get a sense of that. I think some of the other slides already give you a general idea of
Mhm.
proximity to other land uses and development and
Right.
that kind of thing to see it visually.
Right.
How the scoring is based on the 1.5 mile criteria.
We have a question in our listening audience, Mr. Caius.
Yes, thank you. This is an excellent presentation. I think that there's a wealth of information here that has been presented. I apologize if you have it on the 12th, I will be out of town, but this is something I would be interested in participating in as well. I'm not even sure I have the words for it, how exciting and informative this has been for the last 20 minutes. Your presentation is excellent. I will, and it do bristle slightly at the implication that solar is detrimental to the soil as it does stay in place for approximately 20 or 25 years. But I don't know that I want to that we should get into that. But for other applications, if we're going to scrape all that wonderful topsoil off and sell it in bags at Home Depot, I think that for housing developments or commercial developments, this is just as valuable, maybe more valuable to us when we're doing the zoning. So thank you for the presentation. And thank you, Mr.
What day
Chairman.
is your meeting once again?
Well, it was initially July 12th. I made that up this morning. So we could certainly revise it. I could send out a doodle poll, which is just asking, here's a bunch of different times. Which time would you like to go with? And whatever is the highest answer value, we could go with that if that's sometime in August. I could also offer it in a virtual format if people cannot come to St. Charles at that time.
Yeah, Patrick, we can also give you an idea on what dates on the calendar don't have any county board meetings or Forest Preserve District Committee meetings.
Cool.
They have nothing on the 19th.
Nothing on the 19th.
The only time we have committee meetings,
I got a young baby at home with a lot of
okay,
doctors.
the only time we have committee meetings on,
Bring the kid in.
Back of the room, that's all right.
We'll rename him Lisa.
Mr. Arnold?
normally the only time we have committee meetings on Friday is the second Friday of the month. Except for this month, we have it today because of the holiday on Wednesday.
Mr. Arnold?
I just have a couple of food for thought questions in regards to the site assessment. Because if we've got three factors, I believe, that are based on percentage in ag use, then is solar considered an agricultural use? And then the second question is, if we've got three questions based on compatibility, is solar considered to be compatible with agricultural uses? Because the answers to those two questions can change the site assessment portion of this evaluation very significantly. And I doubt that they were thought of at all in 2004 when this was developed.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think those are one of the revisions that need to be put in place. I mean, there are agriculture-related businesses. Could you call this an agriculture-related business, a solar garden? I don't know, but that can certainly, we could decide as a committee whether that be compatible or incompatible if we see that in our analysis. Yeah. Great call.
Mr. Van Kerkhoff, do you have some thought to give us?
No, this is all good input and
Well, I think we're all
Discussion.
concerned about prime farmland, but as long as it's not mine,
even though
Not in
there's-
my backyard.
Well,
No, this is an excellent presentation. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
property owner rights, it's a big deal with farmers. We don't want to interfere with somebody else's property, but maybe we do in our background.
Exactly.
Any other questions? This has been great. I'm glad we had this presentation and we're gonna hear you again.
Yeah, it was all Matt's idea.
And feel free
Thank
to
you,
bring your
Matt.
child if you want. They're future voters and consumers,
And farmers.
Farmers.
farmers. Now do you want new business? Is that where we want to go? What?
Goals and
Goals and objectives.
Yes, all the committees have been asked to look at goals and objectives and report those back to the county board office. What Matt has put together in some slides for you, it's similar for those of you that were at development committee. If you go to the next slide. If you recall, the current definition for what's included in the county code for the role of the agriculture committee is shown on this slide. Go to the next slide, please. Back in 2022, there was an initiative to look at all the committee descriptions in the county code, and most committees did work with staff on proposed changes. These were the proposed changes that were discussed at the agriculture committee back in April. These have not been codified into the county code. I understand from Mr. Shepro, I think at development committee, you mentioned that there that it's back in the works to do that. So this was at that time the preferred objectives or description for the agriculture committee. So Amanda and I took a look at those as being the basis for what staff is putting out for discussion for your goals for 2025. You can go to the next slide, please. So these are potential committee goals and objectives for you to discuss and forward on this morning. We kind of put them in areas of three buckets. One, just the general awareness and support for agriculture, to raise public awareness and support for agriculture in Kane County as an industry sector and community resource. Under the bucket of farmland protection, work in concert with the Farmland Protection Commission and the county board to oversee the successful implementation of the county's farmland protection ordinance and related conservation efforts and pursue funding. And then in the more recent initiative in a bucket of growing for Kane and local foods, to direct the implementation of programs and policies that expand the production of locally grown foods and improve community access to fresh and healthy food choices and pursue funding. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you want to have a consensus to adopt these as the committee.
We don't have a motion, but can we do that consensus? Everybody okay with it? Well, Mr. Shepro has suggested.
Based on the conversation from board members today, it seems like it would be appropriate possibly to add something about increasing awareness and understanding of board members on the evaluation process used to determine appropriate use of agricultural land or something like that.
These are for fiscal year 25. I think we could accomplish that yet in this year, 2024.
I might add, maybe we reevaluate the LISA scoring system in 25 in conjunction with our friends over here.
Well, if land is zoned something else, the LISA scoring won't interrupt it. If you're zoned for factories.
Correct. This is only applied
Zoned
to
for-
land
no.
that's being used for agriculture.
And you are working on a tree ordinance, or is that environmental? Good luck.
Already.
And we're moving
environment.
forward on it with some advice from the,
I opened the bag and let the cat out. I don't know. You?
that's an environmental, so out
Oh,
of
good.
scope.
Are you gonna be, you're on that committee?
Yes, and I am contributing to improving it.
We have a motion to approve.
Williams moves to adjourn.
What?
I move to adjourn. Oh, I thought you were asking for a motion.
Reports on file, move to.
Williams
adjourn.
will ask for unanimous
I do have
consent.
I do one more announcement if you have time before you
Oh,
adjourn.
okay, you see, they're anxious to, he wants to get the Swedish days.
Well, this is late breaking news, and I want to thank Matt Tansley for his help on this. But as part of our overall economic development efforts, we're always looking for opportunities to bring international visitors to Kane County. We learned that the Consulate of the Netherlands in Chicago was going to be bringing a cohort that competed for this opportunity to come to Chicago. In the specifically in the agriculture and ag tech sector. So they're bringing, I think, 9 companies that competed for this opportunity to Chicago in July. They're going to be attending the International Food Technology Conference, but we offered to have them come out and see our Dutch windmill if they wanted to, but more importantly, visit sites. So we had a meeting yesterday. They're going to come out. We're going to help organize a tour of some of our unique sites and, but more importantly, further develop that relationship with Dutch agriculture and their ag tech efforts. So they'll be on July 17th. 17th. So it'll be just before the next committee
That's
meeting.
fair time. County fair time.
Yes, it's the first day of the county fair. I did note that.
Yeah. It's a Wednesday. That's setup day for the fair. If there's some way you want our involvement, let us know.
Like, yeah, or if you're interested, we're developing the itinerary.
Okay.
Welcome to answer any questions or figure out if you want to join any part of the tour.
I would be interested. So,
Good.
I have just one quick question and we don't need an answer. How is
It's gonna
the,
be easy,
it is,
no hard question.
the federal agriculture bill, how's that progressing? I'm reading back and forth. They're moving forward, it appears,
Slowly.
very slow.
They're having
Yeah,
difficulty.
I don't have a specific update unless anyone on my
No.
team is following it.
If you listen to the farm broadcast radio at 1410 in Elgin, they talk about that every morning, something like that.
Well, and the period, the weekly newspaper we get for the ag is, talking about it a lot there too. So just curious. And our take on how it's progressing. Is it going to be a positive?
Talk
or a
about
negative?
someplace you have no control.
I
what the US
understand.
Congress does.
Well, the example like he presented, the state lowered the investment, 48%, which is criminal, but it is what it is. That's it. Thank you.
Nothing else?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Williams will ask for unanimous consent to place reports on files.
Agreed.
You got it? Any-
Williams moves to adjourn.
Agreed. I'll second that one.
All in
Roth.
favor, say aye.
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 Right.